Alright everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to show you guys the continuing saga of the Printed Precision Trickler here. Some of the new things I got and the new things I've done to it. So to start off, I'm going to calibrate this with the Winchester 760 ball powder right now and let you see how it's running. So right now it is calibrating the Winchester 760 ball powder. This powder is a medium-sized ball powder. It's not as small as some of the other fine ones like H110, but it's finer than Ramshot Grand, for example. Those are just other powders that I have to compare with. And as you can see, it is running and it is calibrating fine. I'll show you in a minute here what I did to it to get it here. So in this calibration, we're seeing 0.023 grains per kernel, which obviously is not a single kernel of this ball powder, but rather whatever the gears allow through. So this is good. Let's trickle a few charges. So we're going to trickle 28 grains. Looks like we need some powder in the trickler side. All right. Now when this trickler under trickles or over trickles, it auto adjusts the timing to dispense more or less on the next dispense. So we might see some overcharges here. All right, 28 grains exactly. This next one may overcharge. Awesome. All right, still 28 exactly. Close enough. 27.98. Exactly. Okay, so I think we'll stop here with the trickling and we'll talk about what are some of the changes, right? So first of all, let's talk about what I have here. You'll notice the green cup. That is a 3D printed cup that came from I believe, a duplicate of the Auto Trickler cup. I saw that on the forums and downloaded it and printed that. It's a lot easier to handle than the glass cup that came with it. And then you'll see that I have 2, 4, 6, 7 discs on the table. So we'll talk about these discs, right? So the first disc right here is the factory disc for the new hopper. This one is a first iteration of a new disc for the old hopper that I did. And this is a first iteration of a new disc I did for the new hopper and a second iteration for the new hopper. The third iteration is inside the hopper right there. And then you see that I have 3 trickle discs. That's the original Varget disc. That's the retouble disc. That's my disc from the previous videos I've done. And then there's a newer disc up there. Now, over here is the first generation hopper design. This right here is the cap for the new hopper. So let's go and take a closer look at all the pieces. First of all, let me empty the powder. Now, this procedure is a little bit easier now. So we can close the hopper. That's closed. I'm gonna put the cup here so any spillage will spill in there. Okay, we just take this out. Let's move this closer. Okay, and just pour it out from whatever is inside the disc still. Right. Okay, then we open disc. All right, pour any remaining ones out here. And then we can either just open this, just drop it, or we could pour it out also. So I'm just going to open it. All right, so that's the new hopper, right? Okay, let's talk about this hopper first, right? So it's a glass hopper. It's got a dispensing tube here that you can open and close, all right? So this makes it easier and cleaner when you try to empty the hopper. Is a lot nicer to work on. And then here is the new cup and a disc that I made. So this cup has a notch that goes into this notch here on the hopper to fit it properly. I believe this mouth is slightly different here as well, but I didn't measure that. And then this disc here is actually also shorter. So you'll see that the original one is taller here, and the new one is shorter. That has to fit underneath here. So that's the new hopper design compared to the old one. And for comparison, here's the old one. It has a divider that you slide in right here. And that's how it works. So let's talk about how this new design is going, right? So I just got it a few days ago. I put it on, and it wasn't exactly working well with ball powders. So I'm specifically messing with ball powders because I think that's the hardest part for this trickler, as well as the other new trickler and maybe some other tricklers as well. Stick powders, especially the larger ones, work probably okay with this new design. I haven't tried it. The old design certainly worked fine. Small stick powders like 8208 XBR, you might have trouble with the new hopper as well. So we'll see about that. Now, what's going on with these new design, right? So first of all, this is the new hopper, and you'll notice that powder gets stuck right here between the glass and the plastic mating surface. That's because inside that plastic, there's a little bit of a chamfer right here in this corner to make it easier to assemble probably. But this powder does not come out. I've used a brush and they do not come out. So it's a little bit annoying. I might fill that in with some, I don't know, epoxy or glue or some kind of filler. So that's number one. Let's see, by the way, this comes with a cap here, feels in right there. Let me move this out of the way and close it for now. So what's problem number two, right? So this is the new disc that I made. And there's a little bit of powder there. This is the factory disc. Now I've looped this up, but it doesn't come looped like that as well as in here. Also, when you get this new cup, it doesn't come with a separate new motor. I have to move the motor from the old cup to the new cup. Again, this is a at cost upgrade, so I'm not expecting anything fancy there. So this is the original factory disc, and it's a bit loose, right? It's more loose than the previous version of the factory disc. Which this is the one, by the way. And you can't see from that angle perhaps, but the gap between the disc and the cup is much wider. This is for tolerances and for expansion and such, so that way it works in all situations. Because of that larger gap, this small ball powder will fall into that gap and bind this disc and it won't spin properly. So that's one problem here. And I addressed that with a disc that is actually wider and fills in the gap a little bit better. So now this Winchester 760 ball powder can't get into the gap. So that's number one of what I did with my own disc. Now, number two, right? This hopper, as you put it in, the divider in here, the gap between this divider and the disc is actually quite high as well. So the tolerances for that allow for this ball powder to slip under, and when it slips under, it goes on the other side of the disc and cause binding and other problems. So that's another issue, and I addressed that by making my disc thicker. So as you can see, right, this doesn't really stick out from this lip much, if at all. If you press this down, it doesn't actually stick out at all. My disc, when I put it in here, sticks out maybe a millimeter, and that's enough to fill in this gap here. So when this hopper goes all the way down, the divider is either touching or almost touching my disc. So that prevents that gap from having powder run underneath. And another minor issue that may contribute to this powder running underneath or onto the other side is that there's a little chamfer here on this corner, which runs along the same chamfer as this right here. So if you see this corner, right, there's a chamfer here. There's the same chamfer here at this divider. And that's just enough for one or two kernels of powder to sometimes slip underneath and go under again. So that's another problem. And then the bottom here, it wasn't exactly that smooth when I got it, so I sanded it down a little bit to smooth it out, and that helps make a tighter seal onto the disc. So those are the changes I made to this new hopper to make it work with ball powders. Now, we gotta say, right, they don't advertise this trickler to work with ball powders. They only advertise it to work with stick powders. So I'm doing stuff here that are beyond what it's designed for, because I have ball powders that I want to use and I want to make it work. Some other things I've changed is that this disc here that I made last time, it was working okay, but the center is a little bit loose. And because this is a little bit loose, a kernel can actually go underneath and force its way down, and because it's loose, it's got enough wobble for it to go up and go under, the powder will go underneath it. So I tightened that tolerance up a little bit for this hole to be tighter, so that way it's much harder for the kernels to force its way down, because there would be less movement on the disc. So that made all this work. And as you can see earlier with the trickling and the charging, I've been able to get ball powders working really well. So those are the summary of all the things I've done with this trickler. Now, if you like this kind of video, if you like my channel, please comment on this video, subscribe, share it with your friends, and hope to see you on the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.